and welcome back. My name is Jessica, CEO of Hope Education Services. I've been teaching children with autism for 10 years, and I'm really passionate about giving back to the community by answering questions that parents, teachers, and other therapists have that might be new in the profession on how to help their kids best to learn. So the question I got this week came from a parent who said, "Why is my child lining up toys?" So we know that many times children with autism are engaging in this behavior. Now, part of the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the 5th edition by the American Psychological Association, they finally recognized that stereotypy, and they did it in the 4th edition as well, that stereotypy or repetitive behaviors, restrictive interest, that these are a feature of kids with autism. All children with autism will engage in some form of stereotypy. Now, that's a clinical term. If you're not familiar with it, it means something like hand flapping or lining up toys, looking at objects in the corner of their eye. They're what's commonly referred to as stimming behaviors. Lining up toys is one of these ritualistic behaviors that some children with autism engage in. All children with autism will engage in some form of self-stimulatory behavior or stereotypy, but it differs between children what it is. But it is a requirement for diagnosis. So it's all children with autism are engaging in some form of stereotypy. So now that we know what it is, whether children are lining up toys, a lot of times parents have a question, well, why, what should I do about it? And here's what I say. The best thing you can do is to try to redirect the behavior. So for example, if your child is lining blocks, try to get them to stack the blocks. If your child is hand flapping, where they're shaking their hands, try to give them activities that are sensory based, that they can use their hands for something else, something more appropriate. Sometimes children become very, very upset when you're redirecting stereotypy. And the reason being is because the way their brain is wired and thinking is that it has to take place in a specific way. At that point, you have to use your judgment as to whether or not the behavior is impairing their ability to learn, their ability to engage in social situations, and what the behavior looks like. So for example, if you have a child who's at home, and I have a child that I'm teaching right now that's like this, he's lining up toys and he's at home, he's doing it, he's really only at home, he's not often taken or exposed to other social situations, he's lining up the toys, he becomes very upset. He'll start banging his head on the floor if I were to redirect the stereotypy. So there, I don't always redirect it. I say, okay, you know what, it's not necessarily worth it. Let's just move on and let's teach new skills. Let's try to keep him engaged so he's not doing it. But we don't need to necessarily redirect it because of that level of an anxiety or reaction. Now, on the contrary, I have a child I work with that's a teenager, and he is often in situations that are socially based. He'll go to the library, he'll go to the gym, he'll go to different social skills groups, we'll go to the park, the playground, we'll go into the community, we'll go to the grocery store, anywhere really a typical teenager would be. We're teaching him in those situations. So for him, when he gets really, really excited, he'll start jumping up and down. Now, when I remind him to stop when I'm redirecting the behavior and saying, hey, listen, we got to sit still, or reminding him, he often just realizes he's engaging in the behavior and he didn't notice it, and he'll almost always stop and he doesn't get upset about it. So in that situation, well, I want to redirect it pretty much every time and even warn him before he goes in to monitor his behavior because I know it's going to come up. So when it comes to stereotypy, you really have to look at what the behavior looks like, where you are in the community. Is it going to bring attention to the child if you're redirecting it? Is it going to be stressful for the child if you're redirecting it? And know that it's really, really hard because it is part of the diagnosis, and it's something that we aren't necessarily going to naturally do because our brains aren't wired that way. Our brains aren't thinking that way. But kids with autism, their brain is telling them that that's what they're supposed to do. So it can be very difficult to unlearn and very difficult to redirect. There are also some things you can do to provide sensory input to try and satiate the desire to engage in that stereotypy with an appropriate activity. And I'm going to make another video that will show some sensory activities, so please stay tuned for that. It'll be posted in a few weeks. So this is a huge topic. I hope this gives you some more information and sheds some light. If you still have a question about it, feel free to email me and I will try to get that specific question answered. My email is jessica@jessicaleichtweisz.com. Don't forget to check in every week and subscribe to the channel. We post a new video weekly to try to get all of your questions and all of your concerns addressed. Have a wonderful week.